The Madman! The new deck recipes for RASTAKHAN'S Rumble are out, so let's take a look at them, and let's also see what you're going to be getting in your WHIZBANG pools.
None are stronger than I!
For Warrior, you're still pretty much getting this mech garbage as one of the choices. But the other one presents an interesting look into what a Dragon Warrior might look like, and I actually think that this is not a bad take on it. So Dragon Warrior is clearly a archetype that's being pushed this expansion. You've got Dragon Roar, Fire Tree Witch Doctor, Smolderthorn Lancer, Scale Worm, War Master Voon, these dragons that just came out as obvious synergies that you'd put together in a deck. And I think I pretty much agree that those cards are going to see play in the actual real Dragon Warrior deck. I think this one is not too far off base. Obviously there's some refinement to be made, like do you actually use the Weapons Project Harrison Jones package? Probably not. But I think it's in the right idea and it gears you towards thinking Control Warrior thoughts with Dragon synergy.
Storm, earth, and fire, heed my call.
Shaman still has its Control Shaman list, and its new deck here is a Evolve deck featuring Big Bad Voodoo, as well as just general unstable evolution type stuff, with Zentimo potentially getting you like triple unstable evolution or triple Big Bad Voodoo each time you cast. An interesting idea. If you're playing WHIZBANG, this isn't going to be too bad a deck to get. It's got a clear plan. Play cards that have a low value for a high mana cost, get those mana costs reduced, and then just unstable evolution away, and or Big Bad Voodoo. I think that elements of this could actually make it to a competitive deck. We've already seen Corridor Creeper and Thrall and the unstable evolution package. Perhaps added in Spirit of the Frog and Kragmaw. You might have something in a deck.
Watch your back.
Rogue's recipes, we have a Death Rattle Rogue. Looking pretty solid, very similar to the last one. Just added in Walk the Plank, which is probably unnecessary. And The Undertaker, which is looking pretty beastly in this deck. It can get the 7/7, it can get the 5/5, it can get the 1/1 Ooze of Poisonous and Rush. And then you've got this lovely deck here. I know when I was first theorizing Sharkfin Fan and Bloodsail Howler as they came out, I was like, even Rogue. Turn 1 Dagger, turn 2 Sharkfin Fan, turn 3 Bloodsail Howler, it's a 4/4 rush, and that's the perfect situation. But on looking at all these other cards that are in this deck, and then looking at the pirates, I'm like, ugh. You have no weapons other than your hero power, and you have 1 weapon buff, the Toxicologist, and off of that you're running Bloodsail Raider, and you're running Phantom Freebooter. Like, obviously in the real deck you wouldn't run these cards, but you are really scrounging around for pirates here. I hadn't realized how few pirates there were. Got Ticket Scalper, Cannon Barrage, which is clearly not going to work here, I'd say. Captain Hook Tusk in the Bloodsail Howler deck just makes me sad, as well as Bloodsail Raider. Like, the pirates you're gonna get, that just makes me sad. So this is one of the less good decks out of the WHIZBANG, and also Pirate Rogue, Value Rogue, not gonna work. Even Rogue, no, not this expansion.
I will fight with honor.
Paladin's Mech Paladin pretty much looks the same, except you have to add in 1 bad card. Shirvala's Chosen has the general idea of playing Spirit of the Tiger and Shirvala and a lot of spells. It also runs Lanessa in order to capitalize on the spells that you're casting on minions. Actually looks like a pretty decent Control Paladin type deck here. And a decent WHIZBANG deck indeed. Cast Sound the Bells, Blessing of Kings, and Spike Ridge Steed, while you have the Spirit of the Tiger up, get some extra benefits, eventually play Nessa, get the Shirvala for the cheap eventually. Ultimately, looking at this, I don't think it's quite strong enough for Control Paladin to be too closely looking like this, since Control Paladin didn't really work last expansion, this expansion. We'll do a little bit of tinkering with this. Rocky Battle Axe, notably a weak link.
Only beasts are above deceit.
Hunter, you've got the classic Spell Hunter, also the best deck from the last WHIZBANG pull. Notably got even better because we put in Zul'jin which is a huge finisher in here when you consider the crushing walls and the deadly shot and all the secrets and the To My Side and the Lesser Emerald Spellstone. Like, this deck actually, once again, looks like it's going to be the best Whizbang deck. Notably, they nerfed it a little bit because they wanted to introduce another new card and they took out a Flanking Strike for it. Very sad, but hey, Baited Arrow. A new beast-focused deck. You're trying to get Halazi played and then play Spirit of the Lynx and all the Lynxes. Beast-heavy deck, pretty simple plan. Play Beasts, play Spirit of the Lynx, and play a bunch of stuff like Unleash or Halazi's Lynxes. It's a little bit of a look into what a Master's Call deck might look like. You would want to run 2 Master's Call if you were to look like a mid-range hunter deck, and then just cut everything that's not a beast. I've got some ideas in the making for a deck like that, which might not be as beast-focused.
You were right to awaken me.
Druid, we've got the old Treant deck. This time we've added in Tree Speaker, seeing the Tree Speaker alongside all of the other Treant type cards. I'm convinced that Tree Speaker, I mean, it's a good card in the Treant deck, yes. But is it going to make Treant decks great? No. This deck in terms of Whizbang should be like about on the average or above average side though still. Now if you're playing Whizbang though, despair at the new deck. It's Attack Power Druid and it looks way worse than I could have possibly imagined. So we put in pretty much all the synergy. There's the Pounce, the Spirit of the Raptor, the Savage Striker, Sharkfin Fan, Hench Clan Thug. We put in a Nash because we want to embrace the idea of this deck. And then of course there's Gonk, which allows you to keep attacking. Boy does this look terrible. Like, I don't really know how this deck is supposed to win. The only benefit of all this attack power is Savage Striker is the payoff and Gonk. Seeing this really leads me to dismiss any type of attack druid possibly working.
Your soul shall be mine!
Warlock's got 2 pretty heavily Rastakhan flavored decks. First is Harik's Offering. It's a Zoo deck, very solid base of Zoo. Adds in Spirit of the Bat, Arena Fanatic, and Harik the Bat. Arena Fanatic is pretty much at its best in this deck since you're looking to buff your cards and you can buff some of the cards that get a double buff off of them like Doubling Imp and Serenite Chain Gang. And Harik. Spirit of the Bat can also double buff on Doubling Imp and Serenite Chain Gang, potentially. And you've got Harik the Bat. Seeing these cards together makes me realize, you know, it would be a stronger Zoo deck if it just didn't run Spirit of the Bat or Harik the Bat. But all in all, in terms of Whizbang decks, this one's pretty decent. It's got clear synergy and it's got the Zoo plan to fall back on. Reckless Ritual is the recipe of discard block, and pretty much every single discard card is in here, including the mediocre ones such as Succubus and Howl Fiend and Reckless Dire Troll. It's like, oh, we're just gonna put in every single discard card that is not spell focused other than Soulfire. I feel like a deck like this, if you were trying to make a good deck, would actually benefit, yes, it's finally time to say this, from Lakari's Sacrifice. Because if you can actually get the cards back with Soul Warden, it looks to be pretty decent. This is an interesting take on it though, and it does also look vaguely Zoo-ish, though quite a lot worse than the other Zoos since it's running cards like Howl Fiend and Succubus and Reckless Dire Troll. So good luck if you're playing this with Whizbang.
My magic will prevail.
The mage recipes are, first of all, we have Big Spell Mage with Spiteful Summoner. This one still looks very good. The Spiteful Summoners are going to be hitting big stuff most of the time. It's got Hexlord Malakras as a nice value card in the late game. Daring Fire Eater as a pseudo spell to do 3 mana, deal 3. Looks pretty reasonable. Dragon's Fury, Raven Familiar. I like it. And I think that Big Spell Mage is potentially a real deck in the new competitive meta as well. Power of the Dragonhawk emphasizes more of the hero power part of the expansion, where you can use Pyromaniac to get benefits off of your hero power. Your Daring Fire Eater gets you buffs, so that you can actually use Jan'alai, which is a decent payoff. I think this deck looks pretty good. Pyromaniac and Black Cat both look to be very promising in this deck. I think if it put in a few more elementals here for some sort of mini elemental package, considering it has Firefly, Arcane Artificer, and Tar Creeper in it already, and a lot of good elementals are odd, we'd be looking at something here. As is, though, it's still pretty good.
Greetings, greetings, greetings.
And now as we look at the priest stuff, we are left befuddled into what priests are trying to do. The first WHIZBANG priest deck, or priest recipe, is the Divine Spirit Inner Fire has been a classic part of priests, but how is it going to get any minions to stick here? We have Northshire Cleric, we have Radiant Elemental, and then we have like some utility cards. Got a Banana Buffoon, Sand Drudge, Lyra, and then the Grave Horror, which is another big payoff, since most of the cards are spells. The problem with most of the cards being spells is, what are we actually going to put Divine Spirit Inner Fire on? Apparently we're going to put it on Grave Horror. It's going to be a pretty tough deck to win with, but at least you can get like Pyromancer, Northshire Cleric, big circle of healing value, potentially. Interesting idea to use the bananas to lower the cost of Grave Horror. One of the weaker decks to pull from WHIZBANG, though. And oh man, if you're really mad, take a look at Surrender to Madness. This appears to be a dragon control deck where you are going to try to have your dragons die on the same turn that you play Spirit of the Dead. And then you play Surrender to Madness to buff these 1-cost cards in your deck. And then you play Bwonsamdi to pull them from your deck. Very ambitious. There's actually the Mojo Master Zihi plus Surrender to Madness combo that everyone's been talking about, which I like dismissed as terrible. There you go. Blizzard was on the same wavelength as you. And it's got some cute little tricks along the way. Hopefully those cute tricks will be enough to win the day as you're playing WHIZBANG. But lower power level than the other decks, I'd say. So there's your new WHIZBANG decks, and also seeing these decks provide some initial ideas into directions you can take. I'll kind of lock that away, and I'll take Blizzard's idea for Surrender to Madness under advisement.